Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're with us today. We are talking about being intentional at work and beyond in today's Pink Power Alliance Zoominar. Really thrilled all of you are here today for this segment. I'm Cynthia Good, CEO of Little Pink Book, and we want to pretty much begin to welcome in 2023, right? Are you ready? Like it or not, it's coming. And the big question is, will you get intentional about your life? Because the facts are in. 25% of us will give up those New Year's resolutions within the week. That's according to hqhire.com. Ouch. The good news is nearly half, 46%, will stick with those resolutions after 6 months. Another alert though, 84% of people do not set goals. Nip, zip, nada, no goals whatsoever, according to Harvard Business Review. However, the big guys do set goals. 80% of managers set clear goals, according to HBR. So we really have a choice here. We can go through life on autopilot or be really intentional about what we want, how we'll get it, and create the work and the life you love. The tagline at Pink has always been a beautiful career, a beautiful life. So what will you do about it? The goals, setting goals, keep us motivated, keeps us accountable, helps us stay on track, and also measure our progress. We've got a definition for you, and Heather Blue with the Pink team is going to pop it up on the screen so that you see. We've got a definition of what it means to be intentional. It's simply choosing to make decisions and take action on what's important to you, getting clear up front about what you want to achieve a specific outcome or result in the future that is important to you. So pretty basic stuff. And we really want to hear from all of you. So we're going to jump right into this with a poll, and we want you all to answer the first poll question, and you have a chance to pick one. How do you rank yourself when it comes to being intentional? Where do you think you rank? And this is 10 being very intentional, and 1 not being intentional at all. Where do you think you stand today? How do you feel about that? And Heather's going to give us just a few seconds more to go ahead and vote, I guess, make your mark. And then we're going to see the results really quick. Take a photo of it so I can remember. Heather, what are the results to this? How do they look? All right. Well, that's pretty good. We have, wow, 3% not intentional at all, really. They gave themselves a 1, 6% gave themselves a 3, 5%, number 5 for 6%, 16% gave themselves a 6, and then we've got 7 and 8. The biggest bulk of people give themselves a 7 and an 8. So that's pretty good. I mean, obviously, this audience is not your typical audience because you all are high achievers or you wouldn't even be here. But still, the vast majority are, at a 7 or 8. And we want to see that number increase. So that's really interesting, and hope you guys all get to see this. Very interesting to me. All right, we're going to ask you just one more question because I just love these live polls that we're able to do. This is really important, and I want to thank our coach, Christine Roberts, for pointing us in this direction. We have something called a self-discovery wheel, but basically Heather's going to put this up on the screen. We want you to pick 3 areas of your life that you would want to improve. So super easy. Take a look at this list. What are 3 areas here that you would like to improve on? Is it your physical health and fitness, your physical environment, finances, career, mental health, purpose, spirituality, personal growth, relationships, restorative hobbies, and having fun? Gosh, I want to pick a lot of them. It's a really great list. So go ahead and pick your 3, and then Heather is going to pop up the results for that on the screen. And then I really want to go around and hear what you all have chosen. And so Heather's going to put the results up on the screen now, and then she's going to open the mics, and I'm going to call on a few people because we want this to be really interactive. And the results are in. Oh my gosh. Okay. Physical fitness gets the highest score, 60%. And then followed by, I guess, finances, followed by spirituality, and then purpose. Wow, it's really powerful. I want to make sure our thought leaders, our speakers today, are taking a good look at this. Maybe you guys even want to take a photo of it. I can remind you, but this is really telling, and I think important where we want to focus. So let's go ahead and open these mics. And Christine Luthold, are you here? What did you pick? Tell us real quick. I want to really involve as many of you as we can.
Well, I picked physical health and fitness, and I believe I picked career. I can't quite remember.
Okay, great. Thanks. And thanks for joining us. I want to go to a few of our members, Janine Bailey, Nicole Jackson, Jill Kunkel, Elizabeth Harrell. Are you guys on the call? Go ahead and jump in if you are. Also would love to hear from Brittany Murphy if you're here.
Okay, this is Nicole Jackson.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. What did you pick?
The first one that jumped out at me was physical fitness, because during COVID, I was running 4 times a week and all this, because I was isolated. But as the world opened back up, I had other things to do, and my physical fitness just fell off. So
right.
That's the things I want to
right.
Get back.
Okay. I love it. Well, thanks for joining us. Anyone else want to jump in? By the way, some of you are using the link we just sent you. So if your name appears to be Heather Ballou, you can go ahead and change it by putting your cursor on your screen. And then you'll see the dots on the upper right-hand side. Click that, and there will be an opportunity to rename yourself. What about Brittany Murphy? Are you here today?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you? And what did you pick?
Great. So I picked physical fitness first, and then finances and career, mostly because I, during the pandemic, had my son, who's now 18 months old. And then this year we bought a new home. And so we've been quite busy. So I haven't been focusing on that as much as I would like. So hopefully this year I'll get to do that.
Awesome. Well, fantastic and welcome. Glad you're here. Can we have one more? One other person jump in there. Unmute yourself and just Annette Tarabasso always has great stuff to share. What did you pick today, Annette?
So in the high ranking categories, I picked physical health and fitness. I feel like that's a gold mine all the time. I did pick finances, because who doesn't want more? And restorative hobbies and health and fun just sounded like you had to pick it. Who doesn't want to have fun and restoration?
True. Okay, I love it. Thanks, Annette. Thanks for sharing, those of you who did. And Heather's going to mute everybody again, and I'm going to introduce you to our experts today. We've got some fantastic speakers for you.
Am I the only one that can't hear, Cynthia?
No,
Cynthia, you're muted.
Heather, you need to unmute.
Oh, okay. I've got it. Thank you.
Hear anything you said.
And I remembered my second one was relationships, just because no one mentioned it. So it was physical fitness and health and relationships.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Christine. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight to our experts today, our speakers. I want everyone to meet Chevy Arnold. She is Managing Director, Ernst Young. She focuses on building relationships with entrepreneurs, emerging growth companies, privately held businesses, and VC PE-backed companies across EY's service lines and market sectors. She also serves as Entrepreneur of the Year, America's Deputy Director, and Southeast Program Director. And Chevy, what 3 did you pick? And what do you think about the results you saw from those 2 polls?
Yes, well, thank you everyone for having me. Thank you, Cynthia. And I'm excited to talk to all of you today. And I will tell you, I am in the mainstream. I am also wanting to focus on physical health and restorative hobbies and fun, and personal growth actually was one of mine as well, because I feel like I don't spend nearly enough time on just focusing on me and with family and just all the other things that pull you to every different direction with work and family, that I really need to focus on some of the things that are important to me as well.
Makes sense. Thank you so much for being here today. And we're going to hear more about how you've crafted your career in a really intentional way, because you've done some extraordinarily remarkable things. So excited to hear about that. Right now, we're going to go to one of our other speakers. She is Kimberlyn Daniel. She is the Chief People Officer and Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at IA Interior Architects. That's the largest architecture firm in the world that focuses solely on interiors. And Kimberlyn is a global HR exec with more than 20 years of experience leading and implementing progressive HR strategies for large international organizations. Hi, Kimberlyn.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I'm Cynthia for having me, and I am thrilled to be joining my two panelists today. I chose physical fitness and health. I mean, when we get busy, that seems to be the first thing that goes to the way. So that is certainly something that I chose pretty immediately. And my second one was hobbies and fun. Again, when we get busy, the hobbies also kind of, take a back seat. So I'd like to be more intentional about having those outlets, because I believe that that good balance really does make me a better person and a better mom, better wife, better employee, all those roles that I feel on a day-to-day basis. And the third option is finance. I mean, who doesn't want to do better with finances? Who doesn't want to figure out how to do more with less? So those were my three. I feel right there with seemingly most of the participants of the poll.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kimberlyn. What a great reminder to have more fun, right? That's probably needs to be on all of our lists. Now we're going to go to the third speaker today who we're highlighting. Her name is Christine Roberts. She's amazing. She's the CEO and founder of Create Your Best Life. She is a success coach who helps high achieving women get unstuck and unlock their potential. And Christine, I'm interested to know what you think about what you've just seen, and why is this so crucial? Why is it such an important thing for us to focus on?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. And again, I'm so thrilled to be here and see everyone. I'm looking forward to hearing and learning from everyone that's on this call. And, really the whole idea, I feel really passionate about intentional living. Just because I don't know about you, but you wake up and another year's gone by and another, decade's gone by. And, there was a time when I was really on the rat race of life, like many of us are in our careers, raising a family, working, traveling, doing all these things. And I just felt like, I was losing myself. And I had read an article, and it was talking about people in hospice, and asked people in hospice, if you could live your life over again, what would you do differently? And the key answer, the key, theme was regret. A lot of times people had regret about what they didn't do. Why didn't they take better care of themselves? Why didn't they travel with their family? Why didn't they say they were sorry? Why didn't they start that business or write that book or whatever it might be? And that actually inspired our family. At that time, that was in 2016. We sold our house, our cars, gave away most of our stuff, and we traveled America for a year in an RV while working. And our kids did the K-12 Georgia Cyber Academy. And I mean, that's a pretty radical thing. But it was a very intentional thing because our kids at the time were 10 and 12. And so the key with that intentionality is there's timelines that we have for certain things that, if we would have waited another year, our kids probably wouldn't have wanted to do that with us. So intentionality, when we look at all these different categories in our lives, it's slowing down to speed up. We live in just such a busy world, and our culture has so much noise that many times it's like we don't take the time to really step back and evaluate and prioritize and determine what our values are and have a filter for how we make decisions to be intentional. So yeah, I'm going to be interested to hear what other people are thinking about that.
I love that. Thank you so much, Christine, for sharing that and sharing some of your story. It's really remarkable. And so it will be really interesting to hear from everybody else too. And by the way, I want to let everybody know we have a good number of members of the Pink Power Alliance joining us today. And we have a lot of guests who are kind of checking it out. If you're checking it out, you should know that Christine is one of Pink's featured coaches. Annette Tarabasso is too, and there are a number of others, some of the top coaches really in the country. And as part of your membership, if you're a member, you have an opportunity to have a one-time session with one of these amazing coaches, including Christine. So definitely think about that as a great opportunity for your high potential women you work with or yourself to make that investment, and also as possibly a holiday gift. So just a shout out about that. And thank you, Christine, for being here today, and Annette and all of our coaches and our speakers as well. Also want to take a moment to welcome some of our new members. We have some folks from Southern Company, and I know we have 30 members joining us in the new year from Southern Company. Also a group from Accenture, IHG, we're thrilled to have you, and some of our visitors from Aprio and other companies, EY as well. So glad you all are here. Everybody, please keep in mind your 3 areas of focus for a little bit later. Write it down. Christine has said to me in our prep that it's really important to identify our values first, even before we get going on our goals. So Christine, can you talk about that just real quick? And then I want to circle back to Kimberlyn and Chevy and see how their values informed their intentions and where we went from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously we all have our values. So that's our individual beliefs of what motivates us to take action. And our values are intrinsic and they come from hardwiring, come from how we were brought up. And we've got certain values, and they can change over time based on the season that we're in. For me, my values were, these are like 7 of my values: faith, family, achievement, balance, efficiency, growth, integrity, and passion. So that's quite a few. And in my younger years, when I was traveling and was single and had lots of flexibility, achievement and, integrity and growth, that's always been some of those main things. However, when I started a family, things have kind of adjusted. And in our lives, in our businesses, in our personal lives, when we identify our values, we tie priorities to those values. And that can be a filter of how we make decisions. So that's really a key element in aligning with in our professional life and our personal life. And we have actually a values document that Heather can share with everyone. And I'm sure everybody has an idea of what your values are. But when we really hone in and get clarity around those, then we can use those as a filter for making decisions.
I love it. Thank you, Christine. And Kimberlyn, let's go back to you. How did that tie into you and making your intentions and setting your goals?
And so I love something that Christine just said about values shifting, over time. When I started my career, I was single and I worked a whole lot and I traveled internationally a whole lot. As I began to get married and plan for a family, then it wasn't just me anymore. My values turned to my husband, to my family, and making sure that I was able to still foster and nurture a successful career, but also be there to be a good wife, to be a good mom, and to be a good support system for my family. And one of the aha moments that came to me early on, and I'm thankful that it did, is this whole notion of work-life balance. I stopped thinking about it as a destination, and I started thinking about it more as a journey. And what I mean by that is the work-life balance is not going to look the same every day. Some days I'm a great wife. Some days I'm a great mom. Some days I leave the office, be it virtual or in person, and I'm like, you know what? This was a great day. I got everything accomplished that I wanted to do. The meetings were impactful. My team was humming. But guess what? Sometimes you don't have that success in the same day. And that's okay. Just so you're moving the ball down the field, every day is going to look different, and the balance of those priorities and values may look differently, and that's okay.
Okay, I love it. Thank you, Kimberly. I want to come back to you in a minute and talk about what were your specific goals in terms of your work and how you achieve them. But first, let's go to Chevy. What about your values and how goals and intentions did you set for yourself? Because you've had a really interesting career, and I think it would be great if you could talk a little bit about that with a number of twists and turns.
Sure, sure. Well, echoing a little bit about what Christine as well as Kimberlyn said, I mean, values really kind of ebb and flow, right, with your season. And so some are more prominent in certain times of your life than they are in others. And I will tell you, my career journey has been very unique. I think very different from someone who's kind of come into a company and continued to excel. I've kind of come in and out of the corporate world throughout my career. So, and that was very intentional to meet the needs of what I had to do at that time in my life. And so, you know, I started out in consulting, did that for about 4 years, ended up going back to business school, transitioned into investment banking. And as many of you know, or if you've ever worked in the M&A world, investment banking is not conducive to motherhood at all. And so it was a shift where I had to be intentional about how I wanted to spend time with my family. And so ultimately got out of the investment banking world to start my own consulting business where I could control more of my time when my children were younger. And then actually completely exited the corporate world for about 5 years while my husband was traveling quite a bit and my kids were kind of in the early stage. And so that was an intentional choice. It was a hard choice because, you know, everyone has this vision of I have to do what's right, you know, to excel in my career. And I will tell you, everyone needs to do what's right for them. You know, so that at the time that was right for me. And that was what I valued, being home with my boys and making sure that I was there every day. And I will tell you though, fast forward those 5 years and I became more intentional about, okay, look, I need to continue with my corporate journey. I want to get back in. And because of the network that I had built before I left the corporate world and continued to, you know, stay in touch with them throughout those 5 years where I was out, I would intentionally build those relationships so that I could get back in when it was the right time. And so I think
you were very intentional about knowing that you wanted to go back, and you were intentional about building that network. Talk really briefly about, you know, the focus and the clarity that you had that enabled you to drop out for 5 years and then get back in at a very senior level, because that is a very rare thing that you did, Chevy.
Yes, in good ways and bad. I guess it's definitely rocks your world when you go from stay-at-home mom to full-time back into investment banking. So, but I will tell you, in order to do that, right, you have to start early in your career in building your network, both personally and professionally. And so what I would do is I would, you know, try to always, you know, be intentional about what networking groups I was a part of. I mean, obviously this group here with Little Pink Book is tremendous. But I was also very intentional about getting to know people in my firm, you know, and also externally. So meeting, you know, at least 3 people a month, you know, going to lunch with people in both, you know, people that I had worked with, but people outside of the companies that I was with. And so I think building that intentional network is so incredibly important, and then making sure that you stay connected to them. I think that what happens is people may build this vast network of people, and, you know, you'll look on LinkedIn and they'll have thousands of connections. But to me, it's about keeping those close connections really authentic and building those deep relationships, because if I hadn't had several, you know, key people in my life to continue to help excel through my career, I would have never been able to get back into the corporate world.
And in fact, that's so important. We're going to dedicate an entire segment, an entire Zoom to that topic. Our topic on February 23rd will be building your network. So we're going to go take a deeper dive into that. But now let's go ahead and go to Christine and then to Kimberlyn again about some other specific intentions in addition to networking that you've made, so that we can have clarity around what we need to do and how we need to set our goals. Christine?
Yeah, so really this time of year, actually, I I step back and I look at this past year and look at the things that I'd wanted to accomplish and just do a recap of, you know, what went well and what do I want to improve on. And that's something that I really like to emphasize with my clients is, you know, always focusing on what went well and what do you want to improve on. And so, you know, really looking at all these different categories that everybody had looked at. So like on this, this self-discovery wheel, it's going through and identifying, you know, in this coming year, what are the things that you want to work on? So for example, a lot of the folks that talked about, you know, fitness, health, restoration, fun, hobbies, career, finances, it's really stepping back and looking at those specific things. And what I think is really key is to not set up too many things, like figure out what are your priorities and come up with a plan of how to execute on those priorities. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the 4 disciplines of execution, and it talks, it's a book about, you know, really accomplishing your goals and for companies. And it talks about like companies that set, you know, 15 plus goals. How many goals do you think they achieve? Like 0.
Right.
Companies that have 3 to 5 goals, they'll achieve maybe 2 or 3. Companies that have 2 to 3, they accomplish all of them. So in our lives and your lives, it's figuring out what are the key things and figuring out how you're going to accomplish those. And so really figuring out what is the things that you want to be intentional about. And for me, it's in my business, because I, you know, came from Disney working at their advisory group, and then COVID and everything happened. So I've started my own company, and it's intentionality with building my business, building relationships, and having fun. That's really my key things this year. Having more fun, because I think that a lot of us, you know, go-getter women, you know, we can lose ourselves and get caught up in doing all of the things and not having fun with friends and family.
Let me just jump in here really quickly, because if you all follow Christine on Instagram, you'll see that she does her Fun Fridays, or I can't remember exactly the term that you use, but I'm like, I need an invitation to those Fun Fridays, because those look like that's a great way to rejuvenate and you know, fulfill this this portion of our poll where we want to have more restorative fun and get back into.
Great suggestion.
Yeah.
Let's go to
Thanks,
Kimberlyn.
Chevy.
Kimberlyn, what were some specific goals and intentions that you set that enabled you to move into this very senior role that you're in today?
You know, going back to early in my career, you know, I realized that HR is viewed very differently depending on the leader in the organization. They either view HR as a value add, as a strategic partner, or they view it as the police, compliance, and kind of a nuisance. And so what I did specifically and very intentionally was to arm myself with as much skill and attributes as possible. I wanted them to see me as not just the HR person, but really as a strategic business person who understood the financials, who understood how we made money, who understood who our competitors were, you know, what our challenges were, who understood our product pipeline, everything that you could think about that's going to make the business profitable and run smoothly. I wanted to become very, very knowledgeable about that. How did I do that? I spent a lot of purposeful time with my CFO. I spent a lot of purposeful time with our chief marketing and product officer. And so over time, those relationships, you know, became very, very meaningful and helpful in me gaining access to those types of skills and attributes that I can now put in my toolkit. So as I show up as the HR executive, I can also make more meaningful contributions around the talent strategy because I have all of those business pieces also in that toolkit. I always wanted myself to be that differentiator HR person, if you will. So everyone can choose from a multitude of HR people. There are lots of great HR talents, you know, in the market. So what was going to differentiate me from some of my strong competition? I think what that was that not only was I a SME on human capital, but I also became a SME on how the firms, companies, organizations that I supported made money, and that made me invaluable.
I love it. Okay, and you gain those skills. That's
Yes.
really, Kimberlyn, for sharing that. And I want to go back to you, Christine, for a quick moment and get the two others to weigh in. Talk a little bit about what we are tolerating that maybe we shouldn't be tolerating and how that figures into all this.
Yeah, so in my coaching program, that is actually something that we go through a process of looking at, lots of different things as far as the intentionality and where you want to grow and things like that. But even things when you think about what you're tolerating, it can go back to small things in your life, like the door handle's been broken on your door into the closet for like 2 years, or you've got dry cleaning that's been sitting in a bag for a month and a half, or little things that really are symbolic of what we may be tolerating in our lives. In fact, Cynthia, I think when you and I had our pre-call, and one of the things you talked about for yourself was that you deserve it, right? So you had shared where you went and got something. Remind me of that story. That's what triggered me to think of the.
I'm trying to think what story that was, but I did have an issue with my door. It was warped or something, and I couldn't open. And this has been going on for a really long time. And finally, the guys came yesterday and fixed it. It's changed my life. That's a little thing I think that, I tolerated that maybe really shouldn't have. And then Christine, also talk about the importance of thinking about who you spend your time with and how much time. And then I want to hear from Chevy and Kimberlyn, like, what do you think of all this?
Yes, this is something when I do speaking engagements, and we've talked about this, I always have people come up to me, and there's what's called the 2-minute, 2-hour, 2-day people, right? So I want you to envision a circle, and inside the circle are dots, and these dots represent all the people in your life. Underneath that circle are 3 buckets. There's a 2-minute bucket, a 2-hour bucket, and a 2-day bucket. And you want to put all those dots, all those people in the right buckets, because you don't want to spend 2 days with a 2-minute person. And, I think that a lot of times we can have different relationships. They say we're the average of the 5 people we spend time with. And there can be relationships in our lives where they're 2-minute people, but for various reasons, we're spending 2 days with them, so to speak. And those relationships can really drain us. Those are the relationships that take our dreams, suck our energy, they're not adding value. And so a lot of times it's just giving people permission to sit down. And when you think about intentionality, thinking about who are the people that I want to surround myself with, who are the big dreamers, who are the people that get things done, who are the people that when I leave them, I'm inspired. And then the 2-minute, because, sometimes, frankly, I don't know about you, but there's 2-minute people, but we're related to them. So we have to be. And for that, what I say is it's called limited exposure. There's relationships that we're going to have in our lives, and it's about limited exposure. And it doesn't mean that you don't love those people or, they're going to be around. But it's that intentionality of finding those 2-day people that you can share your big dreams, and they're helping you, they're rooting for you, and they make you better and you make them better. So,
okay. Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Christine. Super quick, Chevy, and then Kimberlyn, is this resonating with you?
Oh, definitely. I think the challenge is getting the right mix of the 2-minute, 2-hour, and 2-day people, right? And we are all pleasers. I know, at least I know I am, right? If somebody reaches out to me, I'm always happy to help make that connection, because my career has really been built on the right connections and really trying to help people progress through their networks as well. And so having to prioritize the right mix in your life, I think, is really, really challenging, but extremely important. And to be proactive in that versus reactive is also really important.
Kimberlyn.
Oh man, that may be the tweetable moment for the day, Christine. 2-second, 2-minute, 2-day people. That I've never heard it said that way, but how poignant. I like that. And that so resonates with me. one of the things that I attribute my success to as I think back over my career is trying to be very intentional with whom I put into my support system. You know, being very thoughtful about the people with whom I surround myself and the people with whom I spend my time. Because to me, you're only as good as your launch pad. You know, the foundation is the base of anything that you do. And I put my support system at the core of my foundation. And so these little nuggets that help us gain better discernment and gain better knowledge about who should be that limited exposure person versus someone who gets the benefit of a 2-day type experience, I think that's only going to make us be better people and better leaders in what we do every day.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kimberlyn. Thanks, Chevy and Christine. I do want to mention that a lot of the data shows that people who write down their goals are 20% more likely to succeed. That's according to hqhire.com. So really important to write it down. We have a real quick exercise for everybody. Now we're going to break everybody into breakout rooms. And Heather is going to go ahead and stop the recording. First, Heather, why don't you throw that self-discovery wheel that Christine brought to us up again so everybody can see it. She's going to do that. She's going to stop the recording because this is going to be totally confidential. The one part that's 100% confidential, because we will be doing a recap on all this great information. And we're going to put everybody into a breakout group for just 10 minutes, super quick. And our request is reach for something in your environment that says something about you. This is my first book of poems. It's called What We Do with Our Hands. But reach around and grab something that says something about you, and you introduce yourself, share it. And then our challenge for you today is to talk about these 3 things. What did you pick? What 3 areas did you pick that you want to improve? Share the results that you want and maybe a little bit about how you expect to get there. And we'll see everybody back in 10 minutes. Hi, Brandy. How was your breakout session? What happened? Would you share? And then I'd love to go to Michelle Lane at EY.
We were in the same breakout. But no, it was good. It was good. Look, we spent some time talking about how our work location, like hybrid versus virtual, or that might have impacts on some of our these categories that we had. So that was interesting to hear too.
Okay, really great. And then do you want to jump in, Michelle, and tell us a little bit?
You can go to another group probably. Yeah, we're the same one.
You don't have anything to add to what Brandy said?
No, we each kind of shared one thing that we're working on, and found some similarities with kind of how our physical environment kind of affects some of our opportunities and our goals.
Okay, cool. Well, Kimberlyn, what happened in your breakout session?
So these wonderful ladies that you just spoke to were in my breakout session. And we did have a really robust conversation. We found that the virtual or hybrid environment is certainly impacting, relationships and being intentional about how we're moving forward our careers. And we certainly did find that we had more in common than not. Even as we think about how we're going to, navigate, putting things in place to overcome some of those obstacles.
Oh gosh, great point. Savita, were you in the same group or were you in a different one?
I was in a different group. Hey,
oh, good.
Yeah.
What did you guys talk about? It's so great to see you.
Yes, you too. We just talked about, making changes career-wise, and making sure that we talked again about the 2-2-2 guidance that we were given, making sure that you're giving the amount of time to the people that are in your life, and just small things like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, anybody else want to weigh in on what happened in your group? Anyone especially moved to share? You can go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us what happened.
Hey, it's Denise, and we didn't have enough time. I mean, it seems like we were just getting started, and nice. I love the ladies that were in the group already, but one of the things that was in common that we spoke about, that it just doesn't seem like there's enough time in the day to get things done, and feeling overwhelmed with that, and what do you do with that? Which is, I hope that we can gain some insight from being here today, because it's a huge issue of, and then, you know, having a place of feeling like you're accomplished, even though you're not able to check all of those things off on the list. So
I love it. Christine, do you want to weigh in on that? Because I think what Denise said was really very powerful. A lot of us are feeling it, feeling overwhelmed. And also the point that, you know, others are making, which is how do you turn these goals and intentions into results in this difficult remote work environment?
Yes. You know, that is a common thing that I hear from clients. And, you know, as go-getter women that just get it done and take on so much, it's really about setting boundaries around our time and what we, you know, what we're going to say no to, and setting expectations properly. Like, I have one of my clients is the president of a construction company, and she was telling me, like, she had all these meetings and she was really stressed out. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Is it necessary for you to be in all those meetings? Like, can you send your executive assistant, like, find out what you need to get out of it? And she texted me back. She said, oh my gosh, I've gained back 4 hours, Christine. She said, I'm not going, I decided I didn't need to be in this meeting and didn't need to be in this meeting. And it was just giving her permission to say that she couldn't be in those meetings, or, deciding what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. Like we talked about the filter, you know, I have another client who is a recruiter. She's a partner of a firm, and she's just buried. Everybody wants her to do stuff. And so we talked about, like, what are the things that you love to do? Who's your favorite type of client? What are the key things you want to do? And that's your filter for saying yes. Other ones you delegate or refer to somebody else. And so it's not easy. It depends on the circumstances, but
well, and also, Christine, what about tying that concept, those boundaries and your availability to what your specific intentions and goals are? Does it relate back to, you know, if your top pick is more exercise or more fun, then to relate it back to that and to prioritize those things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is like a key element as well. So it's like figuring out your not to-do list, you know, setting boundaries. There's actually a Fortune 500 company, and I forget the name. I heard this on a podcast, where they're having their people write out their boundaries. Like, it's becoming part of the culture. And so it's basically saying, you know, I'm not going to be checking email after 5:30. Or, you know, I prefer to have someone, if you need something quickly, send me a message on Slack, or whatever it is for you, like sharing that and communicating, you know, I'm going to be out of pocket. My child has an event at lunch from here to here. I'm not going to be available. Like, really being transparent of what you're doing and your boundaries. And then you kind of train other people, and that allows other people to do the same thing. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, great. And I want to go back to Chevy in a minute, but first, Jasmine LaFall. Hi, Jasmine, that's you. Yes. Can you take yourself off mute and tell us what was the big aha for you in your breakout, and what are you making of this conversation?
The big aha, me personally, is just giving time. I think that was my struggle, the giving people 2 hour, the 2 hour people, and then the 2 day people. I'm still trying to shift mindsets from being like a quote unquote introvert to where everyone is pretty much just getting 2 hours, but I'm working on giving people more time, the time that they deserve. So I'm working on shifting from making that like clear distinction, like, hey, I'm giving you more time, I value you, let's talk, let's build that quality time. So that was my big aha moment.
Okay, I'm so glad that's helpful. Chevy, can you weigh in on all this? What happened in your session, and what do you think about what you've just heard briefly?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're all going to be hopefully more intentional after these conversations, because I think we've all set some good goals for each other or for ourselves by talking with each other. But in our group, I'll say is a big focus on purpose and having fun. And so I did share that we, you know, at EY, we have unlimited vacation, which is such a wonderful thing. but I will tell you, it has to be very intentional to make sure that you take advantage of that. And so we were talking about everyone wants to have fun. And so by taking that time and being intentional with being truly away from work, and being transparent that you need that time away. And I think having the coworkers that you surround yourself with, being respectful of that is so key and critical. And so even though a lot of us have a lot of flexibility now with our days, and it's truly making sure that we take the time to plan that fun and actually achieve it.
Awesome. Well said. And I'm taking notes on that because my boss doesn't really give me any time off, but I'm inspired to work on that. We want to go to a quick tip sheet. We've got 6 tips based on this conversation today that we hope you can take away with you and use. And Heather's putting them on the screen. Identify your values, as your starting point. Identify what you want to improve. Each of you have already done that today. Identify what you are not willing to tolerate. And maybe it's those folks, like Jasmine said, you're giving 2 hours to, who maybe you want to put that time somewhere else. Determine how and with whom you spend your time, and write down what you want. And then of course, ask for what you want and go ahead and set those boundaries. So we're going to leave that up on the screen for a minute. And then we'd love to go back to the initial poll. We've got just 2 minutes left, and see how everybody is feeling about how you rank yourself in terms of your ability to be intentional, a little more intentional, hopefully, about your life now that we've had this conversation. So we're going to go ahead and go back to that first poll and see if we can give that poll to everybody again. There are our options. So go ahead and let everybody know where you rank now. And I want to just remind everybody that earlier in the day we had, let's see, I think we had most everybody gave themselves an 8 or a 7, tied for a 7 or 8. And let's see where we are on the scale now, if we can go ahead and pop up the results now. And while we're waiting for that, I just want to mention what's coming up at Pink, so you can mark your calendar. The next Pink Power Alliance Zoominar will be on February 23rd, Thursday at noon Eastern time, talking about your network. So our results are back in, and now we have a bigger group who are at 8, gave themselves an 8 and a 9 and a 10. So that's really great. And we don't have anybody at 1, 2, 3, and 4 anymore. So I'm really happy to see that. You guys have done a great job. Let me take a photo of this just so that we have this for our, see, I want to make sure I get a picture of this so we can include it in the recap. That's really great to see. Leave that up for a minute, Heather. Great work, everybody. Thanks for participating today. We will be giving you details about the Pink event, our signature spring empowerment event, pretty soon. The details are coming together. It's going to be awesome and exciting. As a member of the Pink Power Alliance, you have VIP seating, discounts, and access to watch it for free. We always do it live and live streamed. And then if you're a guest today, we would love to encourage you to become a formal member, and Heather's going to put some details into the chat about that. Feel free to reach out to me directly. It is 1 o'clock now Eastern, 10 a.m. here on the West Coast. So we want to say happy holidays to everyone. If you're watching, please take advantage of the opportunity to stick around for a few minutes and network with each other. We can exchange information so that you can help build your network, which is what we're going to be talking about next. In the meantime, happy holidays, everybody. Be intentional and have more fun. See you soon. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our amazing speakers today.